Wait, what? That's it?
What else is there?
Mark Twain once said, "A classic is a book that everybody praises, but nobody reads." And that certainly applies to 2008's Mirror's Edge, receiving nearly universal critical acclaim, but very low sales. Now EA has finally pulled the trigger on a follow-up in Mirror's Edge Catalyst. So, is it worth it? Let's find out. For all of its focus on the fluidity of movement, Mirror's Edge is a clumsy game, constantly fluctuating between yawn-inducing tedium and frustrating inconsistency. But ever so often, the violent chaos punctuates the serenity of escape, before suddenly returning to the cookie-cutter scenarios and sequences that litter the majority of the 10-hour campaign. Much like protagonist Faith Connors, the true downfall of Catalyst isn't in the risks it takes, but the gradual predictability that eventually dominates the overall experience. Sometime in the distant future, enormous corporations have seized control of nearly every aspect of society. Employees are bombarded by propaganda beamed directly into their eyes, while those that resist are placed in massive prisons. High above the pristine skyscrapers are the runners, diverse gangs of couriers fueling the hidden contraband market. Players take control of Faith, a young runner adjusting to the current political climate after a 2-year stint in juvenile hall. Though her reckless behavior has made her a sort of outcast, most of the rebel leaders reluctantly welcome Faith back, solely out of respect for her deceased freedom-fighting parents. But before long, her abrasive methods catch the attention of the military police known as Kruger Sect, sparking a widespread campaign to end black market trade. With many of her comrades either captured or killed, Faith targets the architect of modern civilization and murderer of her parents, Gabriel Kruger, before the last haven of liberty vanishes. The problem with Catalyst's story is how rarely it reinforces its themes. From the beginning, the audience is told about the injustices committed by the conglomerates towards the general population, but these actions are never shown. By the time the faceless fascists resort to raids and attacks, we've already witnessed the wide-scale devastation of the runners' actions. Worst yet, Catalyst attempts to create a sympathetic villain in Gabriel Kruger. This only emphasizes the under-detailed characterization of Faith, utilizing cryptic flashbacks of her parents' deaths as motivation without examining the bravery required to take on a massive military. Instead, her courageousness is displayed in the game's first-person parkour platforming. As a skilled runner, Faith is able to quickly traverse the city's rooftops with a combination of slides, leaps, and rolls, which are mapped to the controller's shoulder buttons. This works surprisingly well, allowing players to interact with their surroundings while keeping both thumbs on the analog sticks. Recognizing potential avenues is made easier thanks to runner vision, which highlights pathways and platforms towards the next objective and continuing the flow of momentum. But problems quickly arise with more demanding maneuvers such as wall running and swinging around corners. Correctly performing these actions means overcoming the game's awkward field of view. Catalyst attempts to communicate distance by displaying Faith's limbs on screen, which fortunately never interfere with the player's vision, but also give an accurate depiction of her current position. This is less of an issue in more familiar locations, but becomes taxing during action-heavy missions. Sadly, even the most enjoyable moments steadily lose their initial appeal due to the recycled environments. As an open-world game, players will repeatedly navigate through the same rooftops for most of the campaign. Fast travel can be unlocked later on, though this feature can't help the numerous side missions such as time trials and deliveries from becoming bland. New rope hook abilities slightly improve traversal, but are relegated to gaps in between the segmented hubs. The game constantly recommends alternative routes, but with runner vision usually offering the most optimal course, combined with the minimal depth of each area, there's seldom a reason to explore. This is especially true during time challenges, which are nearly impossible without the proper upgrades. Story missions play out in much the same way, though they do have the added benefit of new locations and enemies. Catalyst features a unique physics-based fighting system, where momentum and direction are key to survival. Faith never resorts to guns, instead taking out groups of guards with snappy dodges, grabs, punches, and kicks. Melee and ranged opponents require different approaches, but all share in the same weakness of imbalance. Knocking enforcers into walls or each other briefly leaves them defenseless to Faith's quick punch combos. Building speed and gaining air grants Faith a temporary shield from incoming bullets, encouraging players to combine parkour with devastating attacks. In a word, the combat is stupid. Though not in a bad way, taking on a large gang of heavily armored though completely inept soldiers is a welcome break from the monotonous platforming. Defeated foes often crumple into hilarious ragdolls. Even though this is probably not intentional, it is entertaining. These sections never feel polished, with idiotic AI, sloppy controls, and comedic outcomes. Still, they're far too enjoyable to be considered a negative. Visually, Catalyst's vision of a clean futuristic city is underwhelming. While it's certainly accurate to the world's story, it can't excuse the lack of detail. There's just not much to see here, with even the underground environments feeling downright sterile. Cutscenes also disappoint, with some incredibly strange pacing and flat vocal performances. While a minimalist motif is an interesting approach, its unvaried execution is dull. So, is it worth it? No. Mirror's Edge Catalyst contains many exciting and ambitious concepts. Unfortunately, its repetitive campaign and open world never fully capitalize on that potential. There's some enjoyment to be found in the game's over-the-top combat and management of momentum, but strangely enough, it lacks a sense of speed or urgency. Despite its unique gameplay mechanics, Mirror's Edge Catalyst quickly runs out of ideas. Mirror's Edge Catalyst is currently available on the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC for $60. If you've had a chance to play it, let me know what you thought, and if you haven't, let me know if you plan on picking it up. My name is Colin Tanner, and I'll see you in the next video.